And we're going to let people come into our country, but they're going to come in legally. They're going to come in legally. And we are going to build the wall. And the wall is going to be a beautiful wall. It's going to be a very tall wall, much taller than this very low ceiling, believe me. It's going to be a wall that if you get up there, you're not going to want to come down. It's going to be like, can you send a crane to get this poor gentleman down? And we're going to stop drugs, and we're going to stop all of the problems that are pouring into our country. And the Pope was terrific, but he heard one side of the story. The following day, he couldn't have been nicer, but he heard the officials from Mexico, who I respect. They're smarter and they're sharper than our leader, if you call him a leader. I don't call him a leader. But he calls in Iran. He said, I spoke with the Supreme Leader. Give me a break, the Supreme Leader. He's not the Supreme Leader for us, I can tell you that. But if you look at it, we're going to have a wall, and it's going to be a great wall, and it's going to work. You know, if you look at the kind of damage being done to this country between the crime and the drugs that are pouring in, and the economic development, by the way, because they're taking jobs of American citizens. Now, when we need extra people, we'll work it out. Where they come in, they go back. They come in, they go back. The grape industry is an example. I don't want to hurt an industry. We're going to make our businesses stronger, better than ever. We're lowering taxes for business, big league. We're going to make us, you know, we pay the highest taxes in the world. I don't know if you know that. Pfizer is leaving our country now because the taxes are so high and because they can't get their money. They have billions of dollars offshore. We have $2.5 trillion in different countries. Our countries, I mean, we can't get it. All these countries have our money. Now, the Democrats agree that it should come back. The Republicans agree that it should come back. We have a leader that can't put them into a room and let's make a deal, right? Do you know how easy that is? So companies are leaving for taxes. They're also leaving for something that never happened. They're leaving to get their money because they can't bring their money back into the country. And to have that money back in is so good. It's so good. They'll use it for things. They'll do things. They'll set up new companies. They'll do it. $2.5 trillion. I happen to think it's double that number. The government's reporting $2.5 trillion. You know how much $2.5 trillion is? And Carl Icahn, who endorsed me, a great business leader, and many of the business leaders, we're going to have them negotiating our trade deals because our trade deals are a disaster. Our trade deals are a disaster. What's going on with trade is so sad when you look at it. China, we have a trade deficit with China of $500 billion a year. $500 billion. And they treat us like they don't have any respect for us, none. And they come to the country and Obama gives them a state dinner. I'm not doing state dinners for these people. I'm doing state dinners for people that treat us properly. Now they're building in the South China Sea, they're building a massive military fort with landing strips and everything else. Total violation of everything. Not supposed to be doing it. They have no respect for our president. They have really no respect for our country anymore. And I like the Chinese. Look, the biggest bank in the world is my tenant in New York, all right? I sold millions and tens of millions of dollars worth of condos to Chinese people. I own the Bank of America, building a big chunk of it, a big chunk in San Francisco, 1290 Avenue of the Americas in Manhattan. Got it through Chinese. I mean, the Chinese are fine, but they can't even believe. I have a lot of friends from China. They actually say to me, we can't believe we get away with it. They devalue their currency. They say it. Now, they never thought I'd be running for president, you know, so they tell me. They had no idea this was going to happen, but they used to say. Now they say, oh, you know, they come up, lots of things. By the way, there has never been in the history of the world a greater theft than what China did to the United States. We have rebuilt China. They have taken our jobs. They've taken our base. They've taken our money. They've taken everything. They have drained us. If you look at the millions of jobs, the thousands of plants that have been closed, thousands of plants have been closed. And you want to do business in China, you can't. You try sending something into China, you're going to sell. I have a friend, he's a manufacturer, he's great, really good. He said it's impossible to get his product in China. And when he does, they charge him tax. Now, when they send their product here, there's no tax. Come on in. We're the stupid people. Come on in, sell whatever you want, right? And then I'll have people like some of the so-called conservatives. I'm conservative, folks, just so you know. But I call these people the stupid conservatives. They'll say, Donald Trump is not a true conservative because he wants to charge tax to somebody selling their goods here. They don't say that the other side is doing it, okay? Because I am a free trader. I believe in free trade. But it has to be smart trade. It can't be rip-off trade. It has to be smart. So it's got to go, basically, simply, it's got to go two ways. Got to be good. When we lose $500 billion a year with one country, okay? Now you talk Japan. They send their cars in. By the millions, the cars come pouring in. We send them practically nothing. We send them beef. Beef. And they don't want it because their farmers don't want it. I understand that. And you know the story. So they send it back. Then we send it there. But by the time they get it back to Japan after 3 or 4 times, it's so rotted and so disgusting that they call it Kobe beef and they charge 10 times more because they're smart. It's true. You ever go for Kobe beef? It's like 10 times more expensive. And all it is the rotten beef, which they wouldn't take. It kept going back and forth. They don't want our product. They don't want our product. And I have the greatest business leaders in the world. Now Vietnam is acting very big. India is doing a great job for themselves. We're not, helping us much. And I love India. We're building 2 beautiful buildings in India. We're building buildings all over the world. But you know what? If this ever happens, I couldn't care less for the company. I'll let Ivanka and the kids run it. I have executives that will run it. It'll be fine. I couldn't care less. I care about one thing, making America great again. That's all I care. That's all I care. And by the way, speaking of that, something that I don't get credit for, and I should get credit, and was covered so inaccurately by the New York Times. They said, the Times, the stupid newspaper, they're so stupid. They're so vicious. They said, Donald Trump is not getting money from Wall Street. We checked Wall Street. I don't accept money from Wall Street. I can't get money from Wall Street. I'm self-funding my campaign other than the little contribution. But they write an article, and they know what they're saying. They know what they're doing. They're stupid, but they're not that stupid. They're saying, Donald Trump, we checked, gets no money from Wall Street. Well, that's a good thing, right? But the reason is, by the way, if I wanted to get money from Wall Street, I would have a fund. Jeb Bush had the biggest fund, $148 million. You could double it, quadruple it. I would have a fund in 2 weeks that would be bigger than any fund ever set up for anybody running office. I'm not doing it, other than the little contributions that people can put, because frankly, by the time you send them back, it's too much. And what they do is they send in, it's love. That is love. Those people, they love our movement. And there's no way you can send a woman her $17.50 back who writes a 4-page letter with seriously, there's no way you can send it back nicely. But we are self-funding our campaign. I'm not taking money from Wall Street. I'm not taking money from anybody. That's it, other than the little contributions. And I'll be honest with you. I don't get credit. I mean, even the stupid New York Times writes about, Trump isn't taking money from Wall Street. They actually say Wall Street's not giving me money. I could make 3 phone calls, have so much money, but I'm not taking it. I'll tell you, when you go to the voter booth, I hope you remember that, because I don't think I get any credit for it. I'm spending millions of dollars. Now, here's the good news. I've spent less than any of the other, major candidates. Some people are just playing games, okay? But I've spent less than any of the other candidates, and I'm number 1. Other people have spent like $140, $150 million, and they're down at the bottom of the pack. So I spent less, and my result is by far number 1 by a lot, actually. It's not even close. Wouldn't it be good to have a president that could spend less and be number 1? Wouldn't that be a good thing? Wouldn't that be good? Be so good. It would be so good. And that's what's going to happen. In education, the top 30 countries, we're number 30 in the world. Okay? We're number 30 in the world. You have countries that you never even heard of that are doing better than us. But we're number 1 in the world in cost per pupil. And number 2 is so far back, you don't even call it number 2. So we're number 1 in the world in cost per pupil, and we're number 30. We're at the bottom of the pack. You have Norway, Sweden, Denmark, China, many other countries. We're number 30. Wouldn't it be nice if we could change that so that even if we're not in the top 5, where we spend less money, which, by the way, getting rid of Common Core will save a tremendous amount of money, and you'll have better education. You'll have better education. Another thing we're going to do is we're going to protect, really protect your Second Amendment, okay? And you have... Just so you know, there's an assault on the Second Amendment, and there's an assault on Christianity, folks. Just believe me. We are being assaulted, and there's an assault. We've had tremendous backing. Jerry Falwell Jr., Reverend and Pastor Jeffress, who's great. He's on television all the time. He said, you know, he's got a better way of saying it than this, but I'll sort of paraphrase. He says, you know, Donald Trump may not be perfect, but the evangelicals, Christians, they really want protection, and he's the best for that. They want leadership, and he's the best for that. By the way, I happen to be Protestant, just in case there was any question. But Presbyterian, to be exact. Any Presbyterians in the audience? Any Presbyterians? That's good. Aren't too many, not too many left. I don't know. Where are my Presbyterians, okay? But Jeffress, Pastor Jeffress is a great guy. And I never met him when he was doing this, but he'd say, the evangelicals are very, very smart people. And you know, they had a choice years ago. And I'll tell you, Jerry Falwell says this, that his father, who was an incredible guy, he said the greatest compliment. He said, Donald Trump reminds me so much of my father. What they built with Liberty University is incredible. And he said, you know, my father took a lot of heat years ago because he wouldn't back Jimmy Carter, who could quote every verse in the Bible, but he did back Ronald Reagan very strongly, who couldn't do that, but he ended up being a great and strong president. And he said, that's what we want. That's what we want. So, I mean, having their backing is great. Having Sarah Palin's backing is fantastic. She's been so great. She's been so great. And you know, we have the backing of a very tough man on the border, right? Sheriff Joe? When Sheriff Joe backs you, you immediately know you have won the fight on the border. That I can tell you. Nobody tougher than Sheriff Joe. But we've got to be tough. We've got to be smart. When I went down on June 16th, I came down the escalator, which takes guts, believe me. It was a rough thing. To consider doing this was rough because you don't know. You're going to make a fool out of yourself. You've never done it before. I've never been a politician. I've been a jobs producer. I will be, by the way, the greatest jobs producing president that God ever created. That I can tell you. I will produce jobs. We're going to bring our jobs back from China. We're going to bring our jobs back from all these places that have been taking our jobs. We are going to bring them back from Mexico. Mexico, again, I don't blame the Mexican leadership at all. Although there was one gentleman, you know the story, he gave a news conference saying, we will not pay for the wall. Right? He said that. I said, nobody asked him. Who asked him? Right? It's Calderon. Calderon. Don't know him. Never met him. He said, please tell Mr. Trump we will not pay for the wall. Just so you understand, we had a trade deficit last year with Mexico, $58 billion. The wall's going to cost 10 to 12 billion. Peanuts. They will pay for the wall. You know, these politicians come up to me and they say, you really can't build a wall. This was a while ago. They said, you really can't build a wall. I said, of course you can. The Great Wall of China, 13,000 miles. We need 1,000, right? So they come up. Then all of a sudden, last week, my wife comes up to me. She said, darling, I don't believe it. Ted Cruz is on television. He said, we will build a wall. Okay? And now another one came out. We will build a wall. It's amazing the way I can talk people into things, right? We will build a wall. And she was shocked because... No, I was the only one. And do you remember the abuse? You can't build a wall. And every time I think about that, I think about 2,000 years ago, China, 13,000 miles. We need 1,000. It's actually 2,000 miles, but we have natural barriers, natural buffers, and things that will do a very good job, okay? I might make it a little longer. We're going to make this is going to be impenetrable, unless you come in legally, in which case it's going to be fine. But Calderon, so he has a news conference. And he said, we will not pay for the wall. We'll tax him. We will not pay for the wall. So the newspaper, one of the people is here, and they call me up. Could we have a comment? Calderon, former president, Calderon said, Mexico will not pay for the wall. Could we have your comment? I said, yes. The wall just got 10 feet higher. they're taking advantage of us. Everybody's taking advantage of us. We have incompetent leadership. We have incompetent people. This morning I watched President Obama talking about Gitmo, right? Guantanamo Bay, which by the way, we are keeping open. And we're going to load it up with some bad dudes, believe me. We're going to load it up. But here's the thing I didn't understand. I heard this, but I didn't understand it.